All right, guys. Welcome to another Thursday night. We're going to be talking fishing and specifically fishing in northwest Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, kind of giving a fishing report here. And some of you guys are going to join in. I got a couple guides coming on tonight with me. We're going to be talking basically just how to catch fish in northern Wisconsin right now. So like early spring, we'll talk some walleyes, we'll talk some pike, we'll talk some bass, we'll talk some panfish, and give you guys some tips. So I'm going to give my fishing report first, and then I've got a couple of guys coming on later who will kind of give the report for their areas as well. So how are you guys doing tonight? Anybody been out fishing? Because all you guys have reports too, so I'd like to hear how you guys have been doing, how the fishing's been in your area as well, and we can all help kind of put it all together and hopefully help each other catch some more fish. So as far as the report goes from my end, I would say we're getting more on track to what I would call a normal spring. It was late spring, but we're getting there. The water temps have warmed up pretty fast. They kind of stalled out a little bit this week because of the cooler weather, but definitely things happening. And I haven't seen any bass on beds yet, but I have heard rumors of a couple. Hey, Nader, hey there from Canada. Crappies are moving in shallower and shallower, and bass are moving in shallow. The smallies have been really shallow. They've been in a couple feet of water right up against the bank from what I've seen, and stick baits have been working really well. Just super slow retrieve still. I like to double twitch them too. So it's kind of, a lot of guys just do a twitch pause, but I like to do a quick pop, pop, and kind of do a double twitch. And it seems like I get hit a lot of times on that double twitch. So that's one of the little tricks that I use with stick baits. And my favorite stick bait is the Rapala X Wrap, and then the Shadow Wrap Deep are my two favorites for smallies and walleyes both. So yeah, walleyes are around green weeds, 8 to 10 feet. That's really typical. I agree. This time of year, Al Lindner always used to say you can count on 4 weeks after the spawn, the walleyes are going to be on the first break off of the spawning areas that they were on during the spawn. And a lot of times that's near weeds. And if there is green weeds in the area, that's probably where they're going to be on that first break. Super great time to fish for walleyes. I mean, it's one of those times of year where you can find concentrations of schools of walleyes up shallow, and it's really fun. You can target them with jerk baits, like those deeper jerk baits. And one of my best baits this year has been small paddle tails, those little Euro Tackle B-Vibes, like the 3-inch ones. I like those thinner profiles because you can work them a little bit faster, and you don't have to use as heavy of a jig head on them. And that little subtle tail thump, they'll move with very little movement, those smaller tails. So you don't have to move them super fast to get that tail thumping, and it's a much more subtle springtime, swim bait, I would say. And I've been doing good on those. So that's a couple ways I've been catching walleyes, stick baits and swim baits. I did catch a really nice one today in a river system drifting a crawler, and that can be really effective once the water hits about 55, I would say, 55, 60, and anywhere there's current. It seems like for whatever reason, walleyes and current mean crawlers for me, especially in smaller rivers. I don't know. They just seem to be able to catch walleyes in places that get even pounded by pressure and stuff, just with a plain split shot rig and a night crawler. So Adam says, hey, not too far from home, got into plenty of pike, X wraps, and 6 feet over submerged weeds. Yes, that is a great pattern for everything this time of year. I mean, like walleyes, we're catching walleyes doing that. We're catching smallmouth doing that. We're catching largemouth doing that. Pike doing that. I just caught a really nice, like 6-7 pound pike the other day on same thing, X-Wrap, 6 feet of water, submerged weeds, exactly what you're saying. So I'm on board with that. Ike and Ellie did an article a couple years back on 2.5-inch paddle tails on ball heads for super finicky bass. Almost won a tournament with it. It works great early spring. Yes, absolutely. Those little 2-inch B vibes from Eurotackle, I've caught some really nice bass on those things, especially in the spring. And it seems too small almost, but also they work great on a drop shot, like a 2 or 2.5-inch paddle tail on a drop shot. Absolute money on finicky smallmouth. It works great, especially early in the season when it's when they're a little bit more finicky. Let's see, panfish. So again, stick baits. I've been catching really nice crappies on stick baits. I found a school of crappies the other day. They would not hit anything else I would throw. I threw a small swim bait. I threw live crawlers. I threw live fatheads on a slip bobber. I could see them on my live scope, and they would not touch any of that. But I was catching them on a 2-inch, basically a 2-inch long stick bait called the Z Spender from Eurotackle, and I was just twitching it just like I do for smallmouth, just bop, 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 and then crappie. And they were some tanks too. So I love fishing those stick baits for everything in the spring. It just seems to be the deal. Arizona Ranger says heading up to Oneida County for Memorial Day weekend. Nice. Yeah, you're gonna love it. It's a great time of year to fish. I mean, Memorial Day weekend and the following 2 weeks are probably my favorite time out of the entire year to fish in Wisconsin. It's just magic. It's like everything is happening in the spring up here during early June, late May, and the water's heating up, the fish are shallow, and it's such a awesome time of year to multi-species fish because you can catch like so many different species in one area on the same bait a lot of times. Like a paddle tail will catch everything. You'll catch pike on it, you'll catch walleyes on it, you'll catch smallmouth on it, you'll catch largemouth on it. You just cast them up shallow on that first weed line or over the top of a weed bed. You catch crappies on it. I mean, everything. I even catch carp on those things. I caught several carp on swim baits in the early spring. It's just, I caught a sucker the other day on a hair jig. You just never know what's going to come along and smoke your bait in the spring. So if I had to, no, I have not done the giveaway already. I should announce the winner of the giveaway. So we did a Eurotackle giveaway actually last week, and I do have a winner on Instagram at Miles Hoffman 2020 is the winner. I don't know, Miles, if you're listening right now, but I'll be messaging you. He's a young guy. It looks like he's probably in high school, I'm guessing. So that's cool. I like it when young guys win stuff. So he gets a really nice prize pack from Eurotackle, and I'm sure he'll be stoked. It's a good prize pack. It's all my favorite stuff that I use in the spring. So, and some of my favorite colors. I'm going to try and do some more giveaways, you guys too. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to hopefully, any of you guys watching on YouTube, you should definitely follow me on Instagram because that's where I typically do most of my giveaways. It's just more conducive for that. It's hard to do them on YouTube, just the way it's set up without messaging and everything. So Hooked Up Wisconsin on Instagram, check it out. Adam says, any tips for river fishing smallies? I see lots of red horse, but the game fish are sometimes hard to come by. Yeah, so red horse are fun to catch, but they're not exactly a species that a lot of people target. I actually do target them because I think they're a blast. Like I'll sight fish them and watch them vacuum up the night crawler, and I think it's really fun. But most people are looking for those smallies and walleyes. So in a river system in the spring, smallmouth seem to be more spread out in the spring, and I do a lot better on numbers of smallies later in the year when they get packed into the deeper holes. But in the spring, I'm typically going to throw like some sort of faster moving lure, or like a stick bait, or actually one of my favorite river baits for smallmouth and walleyes is a Z-Viber, which is a lipless crankbait. And I've been smoking some big ones on the Z-Viber this spring in rivers and around current. It's just it's more of a reaction bite than a live bait would be. So I would stick with something faster moving like that in the river, or a paddle tail. That's another good option. And also, trying to think for live bait too. I mean, smallmouth in rivers are suckers for a big minnow on a split shot rig. Like, if you want to catch the biggest smallmouth in the hole and you're a live bait guy, throw a big old shiner or a big old sucker in there, and they really have a hard time resisting that. So yeah, that's a good question though. All right, I think that does it. So for my part, so I got two guys coming on here. They're both guides in the area, and they're going to kind of give me their reports from their areas as well. So one of them is Dax Zeta and Sorensen Fishing, also known as Kyle Sorensen. These guys are some good sticks, some good guides. So, hey, what's going on?
What's going on?
Dax and Kyle, what's happening?
Kyle, how are we doing? Very good.
Good to see you guys. It's been a while. It's been a busy spring. Been a busy spring. Can you hear me, Kyle?
Oh, let me turn my volume up. I think it might be me.
Good idea. So, how's it been going in your neck of the woods? Give us a little bit of a report of the fish activity, what's been happening, what's been the hot bite over there area.
Oh, man, the panfish have been ever since the day after ice out. The Shatek chain is so it warms up a lot quicker than the lakes up by you and Kyle and north of Kyle. No complaints. I mean, we haven't really had any nasty weather. It's all been so not a lot of rain. Unfortunately, the mosquitoes are at about 1,000,000% this year, but
oh man, they are absolutely horrendous this year. I think everybody's saying it. It's not just you. It seems like there's hordes of them everywhere.
It's crazy, but no. It's good. I spent a couple days up by Kyle's neck of the woods this week, and the lakes that I fit still in the low 50 range. So the jerkbait was pretty on fire the other day, but yeah, fishing's been good, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, Chris says permethrin the boat. Yeah, you just about have to bring a fogger out. Like in the evening, if there's no wind, holy smokes, it's pretty epic. So yeah, we've had some really good jerkbait bites too, Dax. Like, it's been one of the best years I've had for the jerkbait bite being extended, especially. It seems like it's just lasting longer this year. I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but
yeah, oh yeah,
it's been really good. So Kyle, how about you up in the Hayward area? How things looking?
Oh, same stuff. Just been fishing shallow mostly. I've been doing more live bait maybe than you guys, but also jerkbait fishing if we don't have them pinned down, we'll fish with jerkbaits and move a little bit more. But once we find them, I've been starting to live bait fish them just to try to get more fish in a certain area. So.
And when you say live bait fishing, what kind of? Oh, hold on a second, Miles Hoffman. I think Miles Hoffman 2020. I see you're on here. You won the giveaway, so I'll be messaging you to send you that Bureau Tackle prize pack. Yeah. So go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Fatheads, 1/4 ounce jig and a fathead has been my number one.
And that's for smallmouth or walleyes, or
mostly. I haven't actually been doing that much smallmouth fishing. We've done a little bit on the river. I forget which day it was. Sunday we did the river and did good on smallies, and that was mostly like crayfish stuff, Ned rigs, stuff like that. It doesn't really matter. It seems like as long as it's the right profile, like 2.5, 3 inches long, they were eating. And we got a couple on tubes, like those Strike Master coffee tubes I really like because they're nice and fat.
Yeah, I like that shape those things have.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't think the coffee does anything, but the shape of the tube is sweet. Am I going to fish the Spooner Bass League on Sunday? I wish I could say yes, but I don't know. I don't know if I can swing it. My kids got baseball that afternoon, so I'm not sure. I'd like to. There's only 4 tournaments this year, so I definitely want to fish at least 1 or 2 of them. But yeah, haven't done a lot of that tournament stuff lately. It's been just too crazy busy, but it's fun stuff. Dax, are you fishing any leagues this summer?
Yeah, I'm doing the Hayward Bass League. We had one on Red Cedar the other day. This week, Sunday. And then the next on Nelson in June.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Kyle, I'm assuming you're going muskie fishing on opener. You got plans for that?
I'll be full speed ahead on the muskie thing. I'm super jacked up for that. That's, as you know, that's my favorite species to target. So
yep.
I'm crazy sharpening hooks and making leaders and doing everything I can to keep myself sane. But yeah, I'm excited. It'll be a good year.
Speaking of muskies, I see Nicole Lynn just joined, and she's the same blood as you as far as the muskies go. She's hardcore on the muskie fishing. So,
yeah, she might be more into it than I am, honestly. She hits it hard.
She hits it hard.
As dedicated as she is. So.
Yep. And hardcore out of the kayak, which is impressive too.
Exactly.
So I feel like I would be pretty cool if I caught one nice muskie out of a kayak, but she catches like a whole bunch every year. So
yeah, absolutely.
So you guys, I wanted to ask you what you thought. So what's your recommendation in the spring? If you had 3 baits to throw to catch the most fish, just the most numbers of multi-species fish in the spring in this area, what would be your top 3 presentations? We'll start with Dax.
Well, number 1 for me has got to be a jerkbait. Covers a lot of water, like Kyle was saying. You can move pretty quick, and then when you get on the fish, you can slow fish a different presentation. And that would be like, smallmouth and walleyes. The bass lake, the largemouth lakes that are around our area are generally a little on the shallower, more weedy side. So I whaled them pretty good the other day up by Caleb's house on the chatterbait. You can't go wrong with a chatterbait.
Good pike bait too.
Yeah, I've dabbled with paddle tail and flat tail on the back. I think have a pretty good look at it before they inhale it. But if you can imitate a bluegill in the shallow water when the water's warming up, it's a pretty deadly bait. And then third choice would probably be some type of swim bait, or maybe a hair jig, maybe like 3 and 3.1. I say hair jig or a swim bait of some sort.
Yeah. Yep, that sounds like a pretty good lineup to me. How about you, Kyle? What would be your top 3 just to catch as many fish as possible in the spring?
I'd stick with the jerkbait thing for number 1 for sure, and I prefer a Livingston Jerkmaster 121D. So it's their deeper one. It's just like a deeper mega bass. It looks exactly the same. Hey, leave me alone. That dog is something else right now.
A little clingy, is he?
Yeah. The Livingston looks just like the mega bass one, and it suspends really, really nice, which I think is key. If if you go too cheap or if it's just the wrong brand jerkbait, I don't think that they suspend like horizontal, and sometimes they rise or something. And I really like when they hang nice. Number two, I really like fishing like a brown or a watermelon tube for almost anything. I've even caught muskies and carp and weird stuff on tubes. But I'm a big live bait fan, so I'd probably, number three would be a fathead.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard to beat live bait, and there's sometimes where I don't use it because it feels like it's cheating. I don't know. It works really good, but in the place and time, like what you guys have kind of been saying, when you're trying to cover water, you got to stick with artificial, something fast and efficient. But
yeah, there's a time and a place for both.
I've caught pike, muskies, smallmouth, walleyes. I'm trying to think what else on the Jerkmaster number. But
yeah, I mean, and as far as I'm concerned, jerkbaits are right at the top of my list too. And if you have a selection of jerkbaits, especially, like you can do a lot of different things with jerkbaits. Like I've actually I ran into a school of crappies the other night, and they wouldn't eat live fatheads. They wouldn't eat swim baits. They wouldn't eat plastics. They wouldn't eat anything. But I was slaying them on a 2-inch stick bait. That's the only thing they would eat. And, water was still pretty cold, like mid 50s, low 50s. And just that suspending action does it. I don't know. It's a magic bait, really, I think. And like you said, the suspending, like a Megabass 110 actually suspends head down. I don't know if you've watched it that close, but they suspend like this. So you jerk them and then they stop like this. X-Wrap is basically perfectly horizontal when it stops. It's boop, and then it just sits there horizontal. So it's two different actions from two different baits that can elicit strikes from different fish. And I'm not sure what the Jerkmaster does. I'm assuming that rests horizontal too. But, the Megabass 110 is a really popular jerkbait, and it rests head down 100%. But fish eat it. So, it's hard to say what is best. But I've always done really well on X-Wraps. That's kind of my go-to. And I also like the Shadow Wrap Deep. That's probably, if I'm fishing more than like 6 feet of water, that's usually what I go to for a little bit deeper fish. But those have worked well for me. And then paddle tails are always on my list for everything. I'm just a huge fan of paddle tail swim baits virtually any time of the year. And for my third choice for all around in the spring, I'm probably with you, Kyle. I'd say a live bait has to be on my list to some capacity at least. That live bait means a lot of things. I mean, it can mean slip bobber, and it can mean a minnow on a jig head. It can mean a rigged sucker. I mean, it can mean so many things. So it's pretty hard to live without that in the spring. I agree. Water and Ice says it's a great jerk, but it's tough when you have to spend $100 to get a few of them. I agree. The old the 110s are not cheap. They're $25 a piece, and that's getting up there when you're dealing with pike all the time.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll throw them on a couple lakes. I'll throw them like on Red Cedar where there hardly isn't any pike.
Yeah, I was. When you're talking about the suspending jerkbait, to touch on that a little bit, just by using the Panoptics on my boat, I tried 4 different styles on Tuesday when I was up by north of Kyle's house. And the X-Wrap and the Lucky Craft actually sat horizontal. And then what I 110s is I put a bigger hook on the back.
Okay.
So it doesn't tip up like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're jerking it in on live, you can watch it dance and go up and down and whatever. So it won't tip down like, you know, how a bobber would go up and down. It doesn't tip down as much if you change out the back hook, or even, I think most of them have 3 hooks on it. I think the Lucky Craft Pointer 110 has 2 hooks. The X-Brap, the bigger one's got 3, the little one's got 2. And I want to say the Mega Bass has 3. So I take the back hook off, and then I put a bigger hook on it, like I think it's a number 4 Gamakatsu.
Mm-hmm.
2 maybe. Because I think right on there right now, I think they come with like a size 8, which is kind of on the side for me. So I just changed out the back hook.
Okay.
But I that on live.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, they if you weight it, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people tinker with that or notice it, but you put a little different hook on the back and it doesn't tip much. And then, you know, when the fish slash at the bait, they're always trying to like T-bone it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't fall with suckers. So when you have it more horizontal, I think your hookup ratio is a little better too.
Sure. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, and I think that all the X-Wraps have 2 hooks. I don't think any of them have 3 hooks on them. I think they all have 2, if I remember right. But I think there's something about an X-Wrap and having that dressed rear treble that is just, I don't know. That's why I use them so much. That I think that dressed rear treble is just, for some reason, triggers fish, and it definitely makes a difference. And you could put a dressed treble on any jerkbait too.
Yeah.
Which I've considered doing it. The Clam makes those dress trebles now, those dress gaff trebles, and they're really nice.
Yep, I get a nice hook on them.
Yeah, and I have a few of them. I may put on a couple of my undressed jerkbaits just to see how they do. But, and you know, for jerkbait fishing, I have not fished jerkbaits a whole lot past this time of year, and I feel like I should a little bit more, because I know a lot of guys like KVD. You know, for instance, Kevin Van Dam's fished them. He fishes them all year in 80-degree water, and he just fishes them super aggressively and wins tournaments on them. So I think you can use them all year. I just haven't learned how. But I think this year I'm going to try to pick it up a little bit more in the summer.
Any of them lakes east or north of your house, it's always something to have on the deck, especially if it's windy.
Mm-hmm. It's a great bait to throw in the wind, because fish get shallower in the wind a lot of times, and you can bomb it if the wind's at your back. You can drift and cast it ahead of you, and it works great that way.
Oh yeah.
It's a really hard bait to fish in a crosswind, though.
Caster.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of rod are you fishing jerkbaits on?
I have
Go ahead, Dax.
I have a 6-8 medium extra fast.
Okay.
On that one, and then like a 6-4-to-1 gear ratio with a 12-pound test fluorocarbon.
Oh, you're fishing them on fluoro, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good setup.
Yeah, if you bomb it, I mean, like a lot of that guy, like Al Linder, like the best fisherman on planet Earth that we know, I've never ever seen him once use a jerkbait on anything but a spinning rod.
Nope. And
no
braid.
Yeah, he does braid with fluorocarbon on that, and he's probably caught more fish today than we've caught in our lifetime, you know. So
funny story, actually. I was talking to Al this spring, and he was asking me, you know, he wanted to bring a friend over here and not film his fish, and he asked me where to go, and I pointed him to a particular lake, and he called me that night, and he's like, "Well, I'm recuperating." I said, "Hopefully from yanking on a whole bunch of smallmouth." And he said, "You got it." He goes, "We smashed them." He's like, "We caught 80 some smallmouth and like 20 largemouth and a couple big pike." He was like, "It was awesome." So that's always rewarding when you send the big guy to a spot and he's impressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was fun.
And every fish he caught was on a spinning rod.
Yep, guarantee you. And actually, believe it or not, he loves to fish stick baits and jerk baits, but they caught most of them on a 2.5 inch paddle tail. He said they were just on a whatever it was. It was like for some reason that day it was a swim bait bite, and they just tore them up with it in like 2 feet of water, right where you'd expect a jerkbait to be good, you know. So that can be a great pattern too for smallmouth. Those little swim baits.
Oh yes, yeah, 2.8 Kitech. See ya.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's hard for them not to eat that.
And Kyle and Caleb and we've all been on those lakes right around now time where it's like low to mid 50 water, and you see those massive waves of juvenile perch in like 2 to 4 feet of water.
Mm-hmm.
And you that's what I'm talking about on the particular lake, but it may or may not have a bar in front of it, but I've seen clouds of perch coming out of that deep water and just flooding those. And there's kind of scattered weeds there in the summer, not so much in the spring, but I've had 100 fish days on that lake on a jerkbait and a tiny swimmer.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it can be absolutely unbelievable. I was on one of those type lakes last Sunday morning just for like 2 hours, and I caught, I don't know, 20 smallies in a matter of an hour probably, you know, and a couple really nice ones. And the other thing I've been using this spring that I've never used early is a lipless crank for smallmouth. And the biggest fish, all 3 of the biggest smallmouth I've caught this spring have been on that. The big ones. It just seems like the bigger fish like it. And I'm not fishing it super slow either. I'm fishing it fairly aggressively.
Oh yeah, you get that sucker moving, and you just gotta have a good grip on the rock because they'll cream that thing.
Yeah, it isn't a jerkbait hit. Like when they hit that thing, they're crushing it. Like it was down the throat of the one. It just inhaled it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not doing a straight retrieve. I'm basically rip jigging it. So I'll pull up and then I'll let it drop to bottom, pull up, let it drop to bottom, just burp, 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 and then I'll crank it for a few cranks and let it just fall to bottom again. And man, are they crushing that thing.
Oh yeah, that's a good bait for sure.
Yep. There's so many ways to catch fish this time of year. That's why this is like the magic time of year. Like mid-May to mid-June is just absolute gold up here.
And we're having the right temps. I don't know. I'm sure Kyle had 40 something this morning.
Might have been colder than that, yeah.
And we got a couple. They're colder days, I guess. But last year in May it snowed right before Memorial Day weekend. So, like the lakes north of Kyle, they're all in or the 2 that I hit, I should say, they're in the low 50s. So that another week or 2, maybe longer, depending on the water.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right about that. One other thing I was going to say about the perch. So there's a spot I may actually run to after this live is over, because I know where there's a school of perch sitting right now, and there's a bunch of walleyes just sitting there surrounding it. I guarantee you, if I go there, I can catch my 3 walleyes right now. And I don't even have to put the boat in.
So many fish up shallow right now. It's unbelievable. You can't fish shallow enough some days.
No, especially for walleyes. If you'd seen what I've been seeing the last couple of years, I've been trolling around at night after dark with my lights on, and there's so many walleyes in less than 2 feet of water, it would blow your mind. Like on some of these lakes, they crawl up on those shallows after dark by the hundreds. And they're usually not giant fish, but a lot of those mid-teens fish and low-teens fish, just amazing amounts of them. Super shallow. Way shallower than most people would ever fish for them.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Kit Ludke says, just got off the water. Smallies were hammering Ned rig shallow tonight. Yeah, that's a bait we didn't even mention, but definitely have one tied on this time of year if I'm bass fishing for sure. Yep, that rig will catch fish anytime.
What was the one? I'm sorry, I didn't miss that.
Ned rig.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, Kyle mentioned the Ned rig.
Yeah. Anyone been up north yet this spring on the open water? Any of you guys been on Lake Superior yet?
I am going Thursday.
For the smallmouth, I'm assuming.
Yeah, if the weather obviously allows me to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to go. And I'm thinking, I got lucky. I got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off next week, so
Nice.
thinking about spending a ton of money on gas and relax while I'm again, and maybe like somewhere up by you guys.
It should be prime time for smallmouth in all those places. I mean, I know they've been slamming them on the lax already. I've seen some pictures of some just horses.
Yeah.
So that's definitely on there. And Shawinigan Bay, if we get some warm, sunny days, especially, that should be on too. I know the ice didn't go out very long ago there. It's got to be still in the 40s, I'm guessing. But back up there in Sandcut, it's probably in the 50s, but low 50s, I'm guessing, right now.
We were catching smelt just last week up there.
I know. Yeah, it's been really cold up there.
Yeah.
What is the temperature that you guys look for when you're going smelting?
It's just like the 10 to 14 days after ice out, really.
Yeah, 30s, upper 30s. Yep.
Right. Is there a moon phase involved with that migration, or they just come?
I think it's just based on ice out. As soon as the beaches are open, they try to spawn. As far as I know.
Yeah, I don't think there's a moon phase thing with it at all, really, from what I've seen. Yeah. You guys got quite a truckload of them the other day up there.
Yeah, we ended up keeping 45 5-gallon buckets, I think.
Well, that's a truckload.
Yeah. Our best
or two.
Like 35 gallons. So that's 7 buckets. But
yeah. Good eating.
We're spoiled. We've got a good spot. It's a private beach, so it's kind of a unique opportunity. But
that's pretty sweet. You guys could feed all the seals at the Como Zoo for the whole summer with that.
Yep. Yep.
I'll take a bag or two if you got any extra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're pretty tasty little buggers, and they're good bait too.
Yes, they are. You put one of them under a tip up. Hold on. Yeah,
you're gonna be catching pike for sure. And then if you get hungry, you can fry some up for lunch.
Yeah.
I just eat them whole.
You probably don't even cook them, do you?
No, don't eat. Wasted time. Don't try this at home, kids.
Seriously though, have you ever eaten a whole raw smelt? Tell me for real. You have.
For smelt night.
I figured you had, but I had to ask.
I've eaten a couple myself in college when I had a couple friends from Ashland. We'd come over smelting. Yeah, you always had to. It's kind of like taking a bite out of the deer heart, the first one you shot, So.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I'll say I've done both. I've had smelt, and I've also had shiners right out of the minnow bucket, and I will tell you the shiners are not as good as the smelt.
Yeah, definitely chewier.
Yeah, for sure. Do not recommend the shiners. Maybe they're okay cooked, but I haven't tried that.
No, stick with the smell cooked, deep fried.
Speaking of shiners, have you guys had any issues getting good bait this spring?
No, it's been too bad.
No, Hayward bait and tackle. I've seen them all over.
Yeah, I know there was some issues in northern Minnesota. They were having trouble with some of the ponds and stuff, and some of the die-outs from too much snow on the ponds. And I haven't seen it here. Although the bait I've been getting seems like it's been lower quality bait. I don't know. It's been dying in my minnow bucket easier than normal, I feel like. But other than that, at least we're getting it.
Yeah. I don't know, my buddy Justin, I don't know if you guys know Justin Sofa.
Yep.
He's already been trapping leeches. He's trapped like 140 pounds of leeches already.
Okay. He's up there in Gogebic, right?
Yeah, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think he traps in Vilas, but
okay.
Not that far from his house. And they had 2 feet of snow that last snowstorm we had?
Mm-hmm. That was only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. he just made a sale of like 100-pound of leeches or whatever Thursday and Friday, I believe. I mean, so that's a good sign.
That's good. Leeches have been hard to get the last couple of years.
Yeah.
No kidding. Good ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, you can get dinks, but like getting any jumbos or larges that are actually larges has been next to impossible, it seems like.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I wish I knew where there was a pond so I could just throw some old chickens out there and just get a couple pounds, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or however, I think he's got some secret, he's got some traps, and then he uses like, I think he throws suckers in there and cuts them in half or something, but.
I don't think it really matters too much what it is as long as it stinks and attracts them. There's always issues getting bait here in Minnesota. The 7 times a year I try to get shiners. That's why I use artificials. Yeah. And you only fish for muskies. That's another reason, Chris. But yeah, it does seem like Wisconsin's pretty consistent on bait, like at least having it available. I hear all the time about Minnesota being out of shiners and out of minnows and out of this and out of that. So.
Well, there's a lot of guys who are just sick and tired of getting everything tested all the time and traveling across you travel across this county's line and that county's line, and you got to go 10 miles over this county highway, and you got to get your bait retested. I think guys are just fed up with thinking around with it.
Probably. Yeah, there's a lot of rules. I mean, when I was a kid and you were a kid, we could just go trap our own minnows. I hardly ever bought bait when I was a kid. There's no need to. We had the Yellow River right here, and it's just absolutely loaded with all the bait you could ever want.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to tap in the Namakogan right under the 63 bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody said nothing to us. They're like, oh, kids are down there trapping minnows. No big deal.
I used to trap them and sell them to the bait shop.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There was no rules against it. There was no rule at all. It was actually totally allowed. And if you were a kid, like under 16, you didn't need a bait dealer's license even. And you could sell as many as you wanted.
Yeah.
That's how I procured a lot of my fishing tackle as a kid. I traded it for gallons of river minnows.
Yeah, the guys that you guys were a little older than you guys, but we used to give our bait to Pasticus right by the Muskie Hall of Fame there.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy how that's all changed. Now you can get in big trouble for trapping your own minnows and using them on another body of water. And they don't allow us to use cast nets, which I also think is stupid, because at least if you could use a cast net, you could net your own bait on the body of water you're on while you're there and then dump it in your bait well and use it. But you can't use the cast nets here either for whatever reason.
Kind of about the Pasticas thing. They used to have that Pasticas bass out in front. And I actually just found that the other day. It's at Muskie Tail Resort here in Hayward.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lisa, the lady who owns it, actually bought it from someone who had bought it from Pasticas. And we're working on getting it, some fiberglass stuff fixed on it that was broken, and they're going to have it repainted. And
oh, cool.
So yeah, it's live on.
Yeah, I walked in that store many, many, many times just staring at all the stuff that I'd hope I'd eventually be able to buy when I was, older. I started going to Hayward in 88, so I was 11. And that was the first Wisconsin bait store I ever walked into, was Pasticus.
Yep.
And then I heard whenever that all happened, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe, or it kind of brought a tear to my eye. You'd hit Pasticus and you'd look to the right and you'd see the big muskie right there, and you're like, this is the place I want to be.
Yeah, it's definitely changed since then. And Spooner's never really had a really good sport shop. Like, I mean, you have AAA, which is an okay sport shop, I would say. It's average. It does the job. And then you used to have Spooner Sports, which was kind of more the old classic old time bait shop. Had a lot of flavor, to put it mildly. But that's been pretty much it for Spooner. Other than, you know, downtown you've got the Spooner Outlet, which isn't really a true sports shop. So it's been pretty thin around here. We've never really had a super good one.
No. That's kind of a dying thing.
Mm-hmm. And you used to be able to get live bait at the South Holiday, and they don't have that there anymore. They lost their bait license or something. So the only place to really get bait in Spooner anymore is AAA, and now they have live bait at Economart, at the grocery store of all places. They have a fishing department and minnows live bait at the grocery store. Yep.
Yeah, you get eyes on all the tourism for sure.
It's a smart move. I'm sure they sell plenty of stuff there because every tourist in the area goes there every single weekend to get their food. So makes sense.
One-stop shop.
Oh, yeah. That's a great place.
Yeah. Chris says regulations are overkill. Can't get them from Arkansas like you can in Wisconsin. Okay, so yeah, we can get some bait from Arkansas. That's true. They can import some to Wisconsin, but not Minnesota, from what I've heard. So
we should all say hi to Blake.
Oh yeah, Blake Gillespie. How you doing?
Hey Blake, she's getting married.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. She can catch fish. She's an angler.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, she gets to hang out with her dad all the time. She secretly loves it. She gives him a hard time, but she secretly loves hanging out with her dad.
Yeah, well, I bet you he gives her just as much of a hard time back.
Oh, yeah. The banter on an ice fishing or boat trip with her and her dad and Pete and Ryan is the worst one of them all. The cameraman Ryan, he's one of the biggest smartasses I think I've ever met.
That's funny.
He's been with family for 15 years, I bet.
Yep.
When I met Ryan, ice fishing.
Yeah. How long has that show been going?
38 years, I think.
Yeah, that's one of the longest lived TV shows, fishing TV shows that's still going.
Oh. Have they been up in Hayward with Pete yet? They must.
I think they were just here, yeah.
Yeah.
So
good
stuff. They always tried early spring one.
Yep. They've caught a lot of fish on camera. That crew. A lot of fish.
They go to some pretty cool destinations too.
Yep, for sure. Cool. Well, guys, what would you say? I'm going to start to wrap it up here, but if you were going fishing in the next 2 weeks, what would you target before muskie season?
Well, luckily enough, I got a few guide trips this weekend. All 3 days, actually. I'm going to do panfish tomorrow with a father from La Crosse. Bass and walleyes. I'm coming up to Hayward on Saturday with a father and son. And then panfish again on Sunday with a granddad and a grandson in Chautauqua. So it'll be a fun weekend.
Cool. That sounds like a good weekend, all right.
Yeah.
How about you, Kyle? What's your plan?
I've got the same people Saturday and Sunday. It's a big group, so I'm teaming up with Jeff Evans.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be 2 boats and a bunch of guys. And I think we've got a variety of things with crappies and smallmouth and walleyes. So it's going to be fun. We don't have any plans set in stone yet, but we're going to catch a bunch of fish. So I'm still a fun weekend.
Yeah. Those are the best ones, especially when you can introduce kids into the. Mm-hmm. We were all kids, and we all had parents or grandparents that took us out. So, I mean, Caleb, you could guide. Obviously you're busy with work and other stuff, and we're all fishing guys. I mean, you're a guide on YouTube. I mean, you're telling people what's going on every day. So
sure, yep.
Kyle and I get to take these people out this weekend, and we're just lucky enough to get a couple of bucks, but it's enjoyable to see the smiles and take the photos and get the high fives. But the kids, I think the younger kids for me is a little more special when they trust us to take them out, maybe show them a few things. And I've had a couple younger people send me notes after the fishing trip, so it's like a heartfelt thing. Like it's you remember all the times when you were little and you tangled up your line, or you didn't tie the anchor rope to the front of the boat, or did something, and the people that you're fishing with were like, oh, whatever, and they just take you out the next time, and it's no big deal, So it's cool to be able to do it, and we have fun while we're doing it. Like Kyle was saying, working with Jeff, he's been a fishing guide for a long time, very respected fishing guide up there. So yeah, all three of us, and I'm sure Caleb, you'll be going fishing this weekend too. So, and you got your son, your children are going to be fishing with you as they get older. So it's a cool experience for all three of us for sure.
Yeah, it is. I agree. Yeah, I'll be fishing Saturday, trying to film some stuff. Got lots of stuff in the works. But yeah, it's something we all have dreamed of, and a lot of people dream of, is making money and helping people catch fish at the same time. It's like, how can you beat it? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, really no complaints.
So it definitely motivates me to get out there and keep working at it. So
oh yeah,
same for you guys. I'm sure. So yeah, cool. Thanks for hopping on, guys. Thanks for giving your insight, and we'll have to do this again soon. And thanks everybody for joining tonight, and good luck fishing this weekend.
For sure. Thanks, Caleb. Good seeing you, Kyle.
Good seeing you guys.
See you guys. Have a good night.